You guys can remember Daredevil Season 2, Episode 8, Guilty as Sin, and of course I was really looking forward to this episode. You guys know I have been just loving the hell out of this season, and I gotta say, when I watch Flash or Arrow, it's not bad, but it feels weird because of how different Daredevil really is, and probably, I am probably gonna see Batman v Superman tomorrow, and that's gonna be weird as well, because that's not all gonna be like how Daredevil is, and, this episode for me was the first episode that I don't think was perfect, honestly. I don't think this episode was perfect, and that's fine. There are gonna be some duds every now and again, not every episode's gonna be perfect, and I will say that some of the things revealed in this episode didn't work in this particular episode, but I do think are going to work in the future. And there were some amazing scenes in this episode, don't get me wrong. There were some incredible scenes here, but I do think that, one, there were a lot of moments that felt kind of out of character for these characters. Two, there were a lot of reveals in this episode, a lot of heavy exposition, some of characters literally just speaking the plots and things like that, and some of it felt real and some of it didn't, but there were some very good scenes, and this is one of those cases where the positives outweigh the negatives, and Daredevil is just such a great show that it's very hard to dislike this episode because there's so many great scenes, but I'm not going to lie that there were some things here that just didn't work, and I'm going to get into that, and I do think that these things that I didn't like in the episode, they're going to work in the future. It's just this particular episode, I don't think it was handled as well as it could have, but let's just get into it. And as we know, at the end of last week's episode, not last week's episode, I always say that, but it's like, when you binge a show, it feels like it was the previous episode, like a week ago, but of course it wasn't. But I can't believe I'm already on episode 8. I'm going to finish this pretty quickly, I think. We see, of course, as we know, Matt and Elektra found that there was this huge pit outside, and of course, the flashlight finally hits the bottom. Matt estimates that the hole is probably 40 stories deep, and right about then, they both end up dodging a pair of Shrieking and ninjas coming at them. Matt is to listen for the sound of their katanas because they're neither breathing nor have heartbeats he can track because they move so fast. I mean, you guys know, ninjas move fast, and again, it adds another really cool aspect to the show with these ninjas. Before it was kind of like Mission Impossible, and now it's kind of like, I don't know. Give me something that's popular with ninjas. I can't really think right now. I'm sure there's something like, I want to say Karate Kid, but that's not at all what this is. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Okay, that's what I'll say for right now. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. That's what this felt like. I'm sure there are other things with ninjas, but that's the first thing that came to mind. But really cool scene. Elektra, though, gets badly injured here, and I like, again, that there were some repercussions. Like, Elektra's not perfect, and we saw that, and I like that the way they showed that. I thought it was a very strong scene, and, you know, we see that Elektra gets very badly hurt, and she tries her best, like, she really does try to fight here, and, you know, definitely really crazy. You know, she disarms one of them, she threatens to turn the blade back on its former owner, and Daredevil sees that she's about to break his no-kill code, because remember, he had an agreement that she's not going to kill anyone, she's about to break that code. He stops her, doing so distracts her just enough for one of the ninjas to slash across her stomach, disabling her, and, the ninjas prove to be too much for them. We see, basically, Matt's about to follow her when Stick returns out of nowhere, saves her asses, and Stick is back here, which was awesome, and I love his line of saying, now, who wants to get the hell out of here? Just a perfect reintroduction to Stick. I really do love this character. I don't love this character after this episode, but the actor that plays him is just so great that I can't dislike this character, but I will say that this character I did think was better in Season 1, but I did really like what they did with him in this episode. Basically, we see that he saves the day, and he's then somehow driving while blind, which, okay, that's, again, I don't really understand how they were able to do that. How is Stick's able to drive blind? I'm not going to question it, but just, you know, when you're blind, you shouldn't be able to drive. It's just not safe, and we see, but I think at this point, like, Stick just want to get out of there. Ninjas are chasing them down abnormally empty New York streets. They lose the ninjas, and luckily they were able to lose them. They head to Matt's place, where Stick contacts a really nasty home remedy to deal with the poison flooding Elektra's system. He literally has to put, like, this, like, thing in, like, this, blade inside of her, this poison blade that sliced her midsection, and he has to make it, like, worse from her. It's a really gruesome scene. Of course, we've seen gruesome scenes here, but this is one of the hardest scenes to watch. I mean, just seeing Elektra in pain, and especially because violence is the thing that drives this character and the thing that she loves. The fact that she was in pain and this was actually hurting her, I mean, it really was crazy, but again, it really shows that Elektra is human, and just like all the characters in the show, which I loved, and I thought that was definitely very well handled. I definitely really enjoyed that. But basically, we see Matt's concern for Elektra suggests he may still have feelings for her after all, which you kind of start seeing in this episode, that maybe he does have feelings for her a little bit. You kind of do start to see that here. And then we get the most random reveal here, because Stick reveals right here that he knows Elektra. For whatever reason, we don't know how, but he knows Elektra. And Matt is obviously pissed that Stick kept this from him, because Elektra just randomly showed up, and now we're realizing that Stick knew her, and he doesn't know how, but obviously Matt's really upset. You can understand why he's upset. I mean, he has a right to be upset, definitely, over what happened. Definitely, I like seeing that. So you can tell that he's really upset about what happened, and, yeah, so as far as Stick goes, we know that he knows Elektra, and that's not the part of this episode that didn't work for me. It's the rest of this, which I'll get into. Basically, the next day at court, Foggy and Karen are nervous since Matt, again, hasn't shown up, and Foggy has to do this on his own. He doesn't really want to, again, have to do this, because, again, he shouldn't have to. He wasn't the one that wanted to work in this case in the first place. And remember, Matt was going to do the questioning. That was their plan, that Matt was going to do the questioning, and Foggy is questioning Frank's former commanding officer, and he recounts a tale, this really great scene. I really love the way the scene was done. He talks about how Frank saved his entire unit after his commander made a bad call, and it shows that Frank does have good in him. Like, he really does want to rescue people, and he really does want to help them, and I like that they showed that here. And he's surrounded to ambush Frank and the rest of his troop. He said he tries to keep people safe because he's a hero, a man who deserves respect and gratitude, and the Punisher is not the same man. The Punisher is just vengeance. It's his alter ego. That's really like how Matt's Daredevil is his alter ego. With Frank, the Punisher is his alter ego, and I like that, the commanding officer tried to say, this isn't really who he is, this is just his alter ego, and that really is what happened. So Reyes salivates over the chance to discredit him, but he happily admits that he is the commander who fucked up, and then he owes Frank his life. She's embarrassed, and it looks good on her, which I thought was interesting to see that Reyes wasn't winning here. We can see that things are not going well for her, and I definitely did like seeing that. And then we find out more of what's going on with Stick, how he knows Elektra, because this seems to come out of nowhere. I mean, him just saying, I know Elektra, I mean, it's crazy. And obviously, Matt is demanding answers. He's pissed at Stick of what's going on, and he literally punches him. Like, he punches him, and he's really pissed, and I like that Matt was fighting dirty. He had a reason to be upset, and I like seeing that. And basically we find out what's going on here. He comes clean about the war he's always talking about, because if you remember, Stick's always talking about there's this war that's going on, and we understand what he's talking about now. Basically, he talks about this collection of warlords who paint the face far east with the blood of anyone who gets in their way. These mythical people spread across Asia and give themselves the name of the Hand, and they have a mysterious weapon called Black Sky. Now, they don't know what this is, they just know it's a weapon that they have, but we are officially introduced to the Hand this episode. I understand that was the point here, that they were trying to get us introduced to them, and Stick continues to tell Matt about the Chaste, who's the only protection from the Hand. The holes they find is just the star of the war that's going to see Hell's Kitchen burn, but it's bigger than Matt Stick or any of their problems, and he pulled Elektra to work for him. So Elektra works for him, which is crazy that we found out, and this is kind of unbelievable. I mean, it doesn't really work for me, because Elektra just randomly showed up, and it didn't really seem like she had any interest and would stick in anything, but now it seems like Stick basically, playing this whole thing. Like, he wanted Elektra to get to Matt, so that way she could convince him of what's going on, and that's very interesting, but you can't help but think Elektra wanted to do this herself. I mean, definitely, this is very interesting. It changes a lot of things up, and it's going to be hard for me to accept this. It is, because it changes a lot of things. It changes Elektra's character. It doesn't really change Elektra's character, but it changes the way we kind of feel about her. Like, we don't see her as crazy anymore, which I like that she's not as crazy, and we're kind of understanding her more, which I like, but there's a lot here that I don't know how I feel about. I need to figure out really how I feel about this, and it's really the first thing that I don't know if I'm okay with. I really don't. I think some of this works and some of it doesn't, but just the fact that Stick might have coerced this entire plan just feels a bit just too neat. Like, it feels like there's more going on there, and I like that we have this right of the Hand. I like that they've been introduced. I like seeing that overall. Now we know, what's going on, that it isn't the Yakuza. The Hand is who they need to fight, and you have to wonder, that man who said, I'm not from the Yakuza, is he from the Hand? Because he said straight out, I'm not Yakuza. He could be the Hand, and that's what's dangerous, and we already know how dangerous the Hand can really be. I mean, the fact that Matt can hear their heartbeats, that's really crazy, and I can't wait to see where this goes, but right now, I just don't really know how to feel about this. But I did like that this was kind of like the calm before the storm. Like, they're setting things up, and things are crazy, but it's not as crazy as it's going to get, and it's just starting. So back at court, Foggy's questioning an excerpt in brain injuries about the effects of Frank's brain injury resulting from the bullet to the head he took, and I like they tried to tell them that he was shot in the head, and that's what happened, and Reyes tries to object, but Foggy shuts her down, and the judge allows it. They don't want to hear from Reyes. Reyes is just trying to get her side of the story, but it's not working, and then this random person in the seating area bursts out angrily about not caring why Frank killed. He still killed his father, and he hates him, and it's a good scene. I mean, you understand this kid's, like, problem. You understand why he's upset with what's going on, and this isn't just some guy that's talking. This is a kid whose father was killed, and you understand his genuine emotion, but obviously he's ruining things for the court. You know, he's trying to make Frank look like this bad guy, and it's not really working, and I like seeing that. I like the way that was done. And, you know, basically, Frank shows the first signs of actual remorse we see, having seen finally the real collateral damage of his actions, because I think he's really seeing here what he's doing to this kid and really what's going on, and basically, it's a great scene we saw here. Karen talks to Frank in private during a recess, and basically, he thinks that he's this monster. He thinks that he's a monster for what he did, and that he is this killer, but Karen's trying to tell him that he's not, and she wants Frank to take the stand, and thinks it could reduce the charges if he tells his side of the story, and she doesn't think he's a monster, convince him it'll let him know who he truly is, and if he's mentally healthy, and it's a really good scene. You see that Karen really does want to help him, and I like seeing that. Very good stuff overall, and Foggy doesn't want to do the questioning. He wants Matt help to do the questioning, and Matt's going to be the one to help them out, and you can tell that Foggy's really upset. Like, he really can't do this on his own. Even though he's really good at what he does, they need Matt for this. They just do. They can't do this without him, even though, you know, they are perfectly fine with what they're doing. They need Matt. Matt can help them out. They need him in this situation, and I like seeing that. So, Electra's awake, apologizes to Matt about keeping her relation with Stick as his student a secret, and she admits that she broke a promise to Stick by falling in love with Matt, and again, kind of cliche, we've seen this before, where it's like, oh, I wasn't supposed to fall in love with you, but I did, but I really believe Electra here. Like, I really believe that she did fall in love with Matt, and that she does actually really care about him. Obviously, she's very manipulative and controlling, but now we know why she is. Obviously, she was kind of told to be that way. She was told to be manipulative, and I'm sure she still has this fetish for violence, but Stick eavesdrops as they talk, and Matt tries to convince her to walk away from Stick's war and stop the killing. He still doesn't believe Stick's story, despite having almost been killed by ninjas with no heartbeats, and you can kind of understand it. And a lot of people are saying, well, why doesn't Matt understand the story? And I'm not upset about this at all. I think it kind of makes sense. I mean, it doesn't sound believable. It doesn't, and Matt doesn't think that Stick's telling the whole truth. You know, he still doesn't fully trust Elektra, and I like seeing that. I like the way that that was done, and you can see that while he wants to believe her, he still doesn't really know if it's true, and then the worst thing happens. This wasn't a bad scene by any means, but it was very cliche, and I'm like, did Daredevil really need to do this? This does not seem like the show that needed to do this. Karen shows up, not even caring why he has this. There's this guy, and she sees Elektra in his bed. She has no idea what's going on. She insists that he be at court tomorrow to do the exam for Frank, and she abruptly leaves, and you can tell right away that they are done. I mean, she doesn't care why Elektra's there. She doesn't want to know how this all happened. She just knows they're done. I mean, she knows that now he's doing this side thing, and she's really upset about it, and I think really the thing that worked for me here was Deborah Ann Wolf's delivery. I mean, this scene could have come off as really cheesy, but Deborah Ann Wolf, you really saw the genuine, heartbreak in her tone and just the way that she was and how she stormed out, because, you know, she really cared about Matt, but he really has angered her. I mean, he's not helping them at all, and now that she knows it could just be because he's cheating on her, she's even more upset, and I love that she just bursted out there. That was awesome. Really great scene. Definitely really great stuff, and very sad for Karen and Matt, but you can definitely tell through this episode, they're done. Like, there's no sign of these two getting back together. If they do, maybe at some point they will, but right now, it doesn't seem like they're getting back together at all, and I see the worst for these two, really, I do, and I've said that before. I don't think things are going to work out well for them. I like Frank, I like Matt and Karen overall, but right now, they just can't be together because Karen has no idea what's going on. I feel the only way that Matt and Karen be together, if Karen, if Karen finds out about his situation. If Matt tells her he's the Daredevil, then this could change a lot of things. They'll be able to, change the relationship. She'll understand what's going on, and if he tells her, then it could just change a lot of things. But I understand he doesn't really want to tell her because, of course, she doesn't agree with him, with him not killing. She thinks it's stupid, she don't think it's cowardly, and she doesn't really like the Daredevil. So I understand that, but right now, it really ruined a lot of things, and I didn't have a problem with this scene. Again, I understand why Karen's really upset. It made sense, and I really like that. Matt finally shows up at court, which Foggy, you can tell, is really upset about, definitely. I mean, he's finally showing up, and he doesn't know why he's not there. Foggy chews him out. He wants Matt to put the hell he's put him and Karen through to good use and use his knowledge as vigilante to good use so they can make Frank just look crazy enough to be committed, and Matt agrees. And Matt begins questioning Frank about what happened that day his family was tragically killed, but he goes off on his own tangent, and he doesn't really get to do what they want him to do. What they want him to do was ask Frank questions and Frank answer them. Frank doesn't get to answer really anything. Matt just does his own thing, and it's partially because Matt didn't really know what they want him to do. All, Karen says that, oh, we want you in court tomorrow. They didn't get to explain to him really what was going on, and this isn't necessarily their fault. It's really Matt's fault. He was doing his own thing. He's very distracted. He's not really focused on this case, even though he wants to be. He obviously is thinking about Stick. He's thinking about Stick. He's thinking about his connection to Elektra. He's thinking about how Elektra lied to him about this, and he's not really focused on this right now. And he goes on his own tangent saying the town needs people like Frank. Even calls him a hero who's willing to fight to keep the streets safe. He just needs help because he doesn't know right from wrong anymore, and it's a really crazy scene. I mean, you see that he basically is just doing things without anyone telling him what to do, and Matt basically talks about what's going on, but Frank went too far and needs help, and Frank keeps nervously staring at one bailiff, and he freaks out. Like, he finally freaks out, and he basically claimed that he killed because he loved it and ruins his case, and obviously this isn't true, but Frank is going crazy. He kills all those people because he loves it. He's itching to kill again. No one or nothing is going to stop him from killing again, and basically he screams he's guilty. He'll kill every single one of them as he's escorted out of the courtroom, and he's now ruined his case, and this felt a bit out of character to me. I understand that Frank is being pushed to his breaking point. He has to remember things that he doesn't want to remember, but the fact that he just blatantly say, I'm this killer and I enjoyed what I did, it didn't really go with the arc that we've been setting up. The arc that we've been setting up seemed like he was trying to get away from being the Punisher and realize that he's not a killer, and even though he thought he was, and realizing the damage he did to everyone, it didn't really make sense to me, the way that the way he just suddenly went back into that persona. And I understand he was obviously freaking out and everything, but it felt kind of out of character to me. Didn't really go what we've been setting up with Frank, and I think they can definitely fix that, but right now, that scene just didn't work as well as it should have, definitely. So, Foggy thinks that Matt provoked Frank, and Frank, Matt thinks that someone, got into Frank's head and tried to, basically tell him what to do, and, Matt guesses that someone got to Frank, but Foggy and Karen blame Matt, which they rightfully should, and Foggy storms off. Karen's close behind after she breaks up with him, and I love the way the Karen scene was done, because remember, she doesn't know he's the Daredevil, but I love what she says. She says that he talked about how people need a hero in this city, and he's not one of them. I love that line. It's such a great line. It shows how much what Karen sees him at, that he's not this hero, and in many ways, he's not being a hero. He's ruining things. I mean, he is being a hero as the Daredevil, but he's also kind of working with the enemy a little bit, and he's not really helping the city in any way, and obviously, she's really upset, and even though she doesn't know that he's Daredevil, it really does pertain to who Matt Murdock's being. I mean, he really isn't helping them in any way. He's not being a hero. He didn't do what they want him to do, and they are really done with his shit. They don't want to deal with him right now, and I'm not upset that they completely abandoned him, and I definitely think it's going to be like this for a while. And until Matt admits what's going on and tries to figure out a situation with Elektra, because he really needs to figure out what he's going to do here, because it's clear that Elektra really is complicating things, and I knew this was going to happen, but this is getting really bad. Like, it's going to be a really bad situation for Matt. He needs to find out what he needs to do with Elektra and then move on from it. So back at Matt's place, Elektra tells Stick she wants to stay with Matt and try things his way. She doesn't really want to do things the way Stick's telling her to. Stick says that Matt is soft and he'll make Elektra soft, and tells her she doesn't know how much he's been protecting her from. And she tells him to leave, and Stick does so, and here's the thing with Stick that didn't really work for me. You didn't see that loving side he had for Matt. I mean, we saw in episode 7 that Stick really is kind of like a fatherly figure towards Matt, and he really cares about him. And I'm sure he did, but this seemed like he was more caring more about Elektra and less than Matt. Like, Matt's not a good guy, and that you shouldn't trust him or anything. It was weird for Stick. I like the character overall, but I hope they just do something different, because like I said, here it didn't really work for me. He tells Man a waiting car they need to get the band back together, and as a hand ninja silently watches watches from a neighboring rooftop, and what does that mean? What's the band? I mean, it's clear that there's someone else that's working with Elektra, that's not Matt and Elektra, that's a lot more powerful than them, and who knows who he's talking about. I mean, there clearly is more that he's talking about here, and I don't know if he's trying to set up defenders, if he might know Jessica Jones or something like that. I don't really know, but this is very interesting the way he said that. We don't know what he means by we gotta get band back together. Who that could be, I have no idea, and I'm very interested in seeing what could happen there. So Matt and Elektra have this really nice scene after this because things are really tense between them. And this is kind of the scene where they start to understand each other. And even though they did in that one scene, episode 7, they still have a very toxic relationship. And I think here it really kind of solidifies what's going on with Matt. They have this heart-to-heart about their feelings, about choices, about making things work. And it's a really nice scene. Elektra tells Matt she wants to be with him in part because he's the only person who thinks that there's some good in her. Everyone else thinks that she's this dangerous person. And he actually sees that she does have good in her and that she's not a terrible person. And despite the, he understands why she's doing what she's doing. And she apologized from losing the case and more, but he's okay because he didn't lose her, and you can tell that he really cares about her. Like, he really does want to be with her, and now they just need to figure out how to make their new partnership work. And I like the way the scene was done. It shows that things aren't necessarily changing for Matt. Like, I think Matt still cared about the case, but he understands Elektra's situation. He understands Elektra was manipulated by Stick, and she doesn't want to go by that manipulation. She wants to run things. She wants to partner up with Matt because she genuinely cares about him, and I like the way that was done. Matt goes to get a drink, and an arrow just pierces his shoulder out of nowhere. Just this arrow pierces his shoulder, and this, that was the ninja was atop the roof. Matt manages to fight him off, wants to find out who he's working for, but then, he wants to find out who he's working for and everything, and he realizes that this is just a kid. This isn't a man. This is a kid, and that's what's horrifying. The fact that there are kids involved in this sort of thing. I mean, you can tell the look on Matt's face. He is horrified by what's going on. He has no idea what to do, and before they can find out anything, Elektra slits the kid's throat to the horror of Matt, and she's now broken their code. I mean, he told her straight out, I don't want you to kill anyone, and now she has killed someone. He's freaking out, and I love his reaction. Like, he's not mad at her. He's like, why'd you do this? Why'd you do this? Like, he doesn't know how to do. He's kind of convulsing, and it really, I mean, she ruined pretty much everything, and, now she's fucked up his case. She's ruined, she's now ruined, the no-killing code, and she's doing things by her way, and I love her line. She tells Matt, this is who she is. Does he still want her? And that's, we see that Matt starts having a seizure. Literally, he starts having a seizure here. Really crazy the way that was done. And he passes out. We don't know what's going to happen, but he does pass out here. And great scene. I love the way that was done. And it shows that even though Matt is understanding Elektra, they'll never be on the same team. Like, Elektra's always going to be on the killing side, while Matt's always going to be on the not killing side. Very much the same situation with Karen. The difference is with Karen that she won't, she kills when she has to. Elektra will kill when she feels like it. She felt like killing this guy. It's clear. She didn't care what he had to do. She just felt like killing him, and that's why. She enjoys killing, and that's just how it is. So we see Frank now in jail, where he's met with a rude welcome, and this scene was just incredible. Finally, we got to see this, and this was all, the episode was worth it. I mean, this was a rough episode to get through, I definitely will say that. There were some scenes where I'm just like, this is rough, it really is, because I wanted to love this episode, and I didn't, but this scene really made up for it. He's now in jail, where he's met with a rude welcome, as expected, considering all the enemies made of the criminal world, but he's about to meet someone that we've waited for all season. We see a man on a bench press and putting 5 plates with ease, and we can tell right away who it is. The camera only showing him from behind, but we can tell that it's a man of size with a bald head, and I'm like, I know who this is gonna be. He turns around, he tells the Punisher they must have gotten his message, and Wilson is back. Yes, Wilson Fisk is back. He wants to meet up with Frank. What he's gonna talk about, I have no idea, but him and Frank, they're now, he wants to work with him. You can tell that he's gonna be a huge part of the second half of the season, and I love this. The show never indicated that Wilson went away. That's the thing I want to say, is that the show never said straight out, oh, Wilson's done. We knew that he was in jail, so they kept him around, and I really applaud the show for doing that, because we couldn't get a scene like this had they just killed off Wilson, and by doing this, we get to keep Wilson around, we get to get Wilson Fisk back in the show. I can't wait to see what he's going to do with Frank. What does he want to do exactly? I feel like it has to do with, obviously, taking down Matt or getting revenge on him. Obviously, he wants revenge on Matt and what happened there, but what does that have to do with anything? And could Wilson have possibly influenced what Frank has done? I don't know. I feel like Frank kind of knows Wilson, or maybe there's something going on there. I'm very interested in seeing what's going on there, because we don't know what Wilson's been doing since he went to prison, which I definitely feel like we're going to find out in the next episode. I can't wait to see the way that plays out. And this is going to terrify everyone. I mean, this ruined things for Matt. This ruined things for Foggy. And if they find out that Wilson is back, I mean, this is just going to fuck up everything. And obviously, Nelson and Murdoch is going to be over because, remember, they lost the case. And knowing that they lost, I mean, Nelson and Murdoch is definitely in danger. So it's probably going to close. It's not going to involve for anyone. And things are just getting worse. I've said it before. Like I said, things are just going to get worse before they get better. And I'm sure things are eventually going to get better, but right now they're going to get worse. Matt needs to figure out this Elektra situation. He really does, because it's very complicated. I understand that. But they're not on the same team, and they're never going to be. And that's the thing that I think Matt needs to understand. Even though he wants to be with Elektra, and he does care about her, they're never really going to be on the same team fundamentally. They have different ways of doing things. They think differently. They don't act, they think differently. They have different ways of doing things. Elektra will kill someone while Matt won't and try to get information out of them, while Elektra will just straight up kill them, and he really needs to figure out what he wants to do here. Matt and Karen, I feel like now is the time for him to tell Karen what's going on, but I feel like he doesn't want to. Again, he knows that they can't really be together, and even though he wants to have much of a future, even though he wants them to, and it's really sad what's going on there. I really do feel bad for Matt and Karen, because out of anyone, I mean, you have to feel bad for what happened there. It wasn't necessarily his fault that he was late. It's just he chose to ally with Elektra. He chose to stay on her side. He knew what he was getting himself into, and he didn't try to back out. That's the reason why I'll say, okay, this is kind of Matt's fault. It's not all the way his fault. I think a lot of the things, yeah, was Elektra's fault. She tried to ruin a lot of things for him, but in many ways, he knew what he was doing, and that's very interesting. Frank, what is Wilson? Here's my thing with Frank. Is Frank going to go in the direction of being a killer again, or is he going to try to redeem himself? Is he going to take Wilson's offer? I'm very interested in seeing what happens with Frank. Foggy and Matt, things are very bad between these two. I definitely think that they're going to try to make amends at some point, but right now it's going to be very hard to see if they're going to be able to make amends. And as far as Stick, what is Stick talking about when he says we got to get the band back together? It's clear that there are more of them. We don't know how, but there's definitely more. There's more in this group. It's not just Matt and Elektra. There's more out there, and who that could be, we don't really know. I'm very interested in seeing what that's all connected to, because that's very interesting overall. And like I said, this was in no way a bad episode. It's just because of how amazing the show has been and how they've been upping the quality literally, I think, every single episode. Episode 4 is still the best episode of this entire show, and no episode has really competed with that except for probably episode 6, or even episode 7. I mean, those episodes were great. It's just this episode was the first episode that wasn't perfect for me. I do think I'll eventually like where they're going with Elektra. Right now, I don't love it. I really don't, but I do think as the show goes on, I'm going to like it more and more. But overall, guys, I'm glad you guys saw this episode. Absolutely, really enjoyed the ending of this episode. I thought there were some really great things here. I didn't love this episode. Like I said, I think some of the reveals didn't really work as well as they could have, and I do think eventually I am going to latch on to this, and I am going to enjoy it, but right now, I really just need to see another episode play out, see what happens. I like that we get introduced to the Ham. We now know how genuine of a threat they are. But then, once you guys saw this episode, love to hear your thoughts on it. We'll see you guys in my next video, which will be for episode 9 of Daredevil. Really going through this really well. My plan's to finish it this weekend, guys, and I think I could. I only have 5 episodes left. I can do it. I can finish it, and I will do that. But let me know what you guys saw this episode. We'll see you guys in the next show, which will be for episode 9, and we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.